Welcome back, everyone. Last time we talked about the first two aspects that we can associate with Chinese, professional Chinese people with uh, personal growth and understanding the cultural differences. Today, we're going to talk about interpersonal relationship and the relationship in marriage. This is a 关系 network. 关系 is a Chinese word, which means relationship. So on the left side, the blue one is Western countries, Western cultural relationship. Pretty simple, boss, subordinate, you are my doctor, pretty straightforward, just one-on-one, very simple relationship. But in the one on the right, the orange one, illustrates a Chinese relationship that we have so many connections, and connections are very important for every aspect of work of life. Like even I want to send my kids to a kindergarten. I want to know some teachers in the kindergarten. So the teacher might be my cousin's friend, might be my uncle's niece, friend, so all connected. Why do I want to do that? I think one reason is because China, we did not have that complex and complete legal system to govern every aspect of life. So whoever is in a position with some power and with some influence can really have that freedom to do whatever they want to do. Like doctors, they can, well, yeah, they can treat the patient better, or give them a better treatment, pay more attention. So they have that freedom to choose. So it's a very common practice in China back probably just 5-6 years ago. Not like a patient, they want to give the doctor red envelope. What is a red envelope? It's an envelope with the color red. And then in that envelope, that's cash. They want to give the doctor the red envelope before the surgery. They just want the doctor to do his or her best to cure that patient. That's a very common practice in China for a long time. Recent years, I think the government is trying to regulate that much better. So to prevent people doing that, to prevent doctor treat patients differently. But still, the doctors still have a lot of freedom to do whatever they want to do. That's just some examples. So in China, because we don't have such a complex legal system to govern every aspect of life, and anybody in a position with some power influence, they can choose what they want to do. So that's why in China we want to have some connection with so many different people. If I have some relatives work in the medical system as a doctor, that will help me a lot. So just as I explained, the 关系 relationship is such an important thing in Chinese life. One of the common practice you'll see at the workplace is everybody's trying to get closer to the authority, to the boss. They don't just try that at workplace within the work scope. They try even outside work, outside the content of work. They try every aspect to get closer to the boss. From my own experience, that I actually had to spend many evenings, have dinner with my boss when I work as an HR manager in China. So some of the reason, not just because building that relationship, because my boss, my previous boss, he did not have much time at regular workout to talk about HR. So he saw the technical stuff is much more important than HR, and which is the one he focused more at during the work time. But if you talk to any Chinese profession, and you can see that Actually, everybody is trying their best to get closer to authority. With that phenomenon at workplace, actually, it definitely caused some complexity at workplace. Sometimes, just for example, a secretary usually they work with the boss, the president or director very closely. Spend a lot of time with that position. So usually the secretary actually has a lot of influence on the president or the director. So sometimes if the direct report of that president, if that person offend the secretary, and then that person can expect some adverse action against him or her just because he offends the boss secretary. It happens a lot in China. So you don't just have to satisfy the requirement of your boss regarding your job, regarding your work. You also have to understand a dynamic of a relationship. You cannot do anything to offend the boss, your boss's secretary. It's interesting and it's true. So when you actually, if you talk to your mentee, there's a possibility they can encounter that kind of a complexity at workplace. And you can talk about, oh yeah, it seems that the Chinese do have this kind of a little bit complex relationship at workplace. And then getting closer to the boss, to the authority, is not a bad thing itself. Just like our Christian, we try to get closer to the highest authority. The highest authority is God. So we try to get closer to God. And that's why we're trying to do it every day. So you can share your experience or your opinion as a Christian. And then you can go further, like if our relationship with the number one authority is correct, and other relationship with other people or with stuff, with work, with other things in life will fall into the right place. Just like I mentioned previously, if we value to choose the facts the most, if we value honesty at work the most, we will bring good things to workplace. And then I'm gonna talk more about like a woman as helper in marriage. That's what God say in Bible. That's the principle or rule we should follow. If we know that rule and principle, we follow that rule, and that will help our marriage. And I mentioned before, we all know as Christian, everybody is a sinner. If we know that fact, and then we know how to handle, if just like I mentioned before, if my boss's opinion is against facts, what should I do? And then if I put God first, I will know how to handle that situation. So these are all, this is an opportunity for you to extend the topic further to Christians' number one relationship, Christians' number one 关系 is with God. And share with them, share with the mentees. There's a common problem in China, probably everywhere, but in China, I have witnessed a bunch of them breaking the eco-social transaction. That's a psychological term. Eco-social transaction pretty much just mean that if I give you $1 and later on you pay me back that $1. If I do you a favor now and later on I expect you do me a favor when I need a favor. So it's just simple as that. And what I have witnessed, it's very interesting. Like in China, there's a wedding ceremony, and everybody's supposed to give the bride and groom a red envelope. So red envelope, I mentioned again, that's money inside, just like a gift. It's a wedding gift. And then when the bride and groom, everybody write, like if I give out a red envelope, I write my name on envelope, means that I give to them. So after the ceremony, the bride and groom, they would collect all the envelope, and then they will have a book and to write down how much each person has given. And then when next time, when that person's relative, it might be next, for example, this time I give a red envelope, but next time it might be my son get married, and I invite this bride and groom to attend the wedding of my son, and that bride and groom, they're gonna give the same amount to my son as I gave to them now. So this is supposed to be the rule. It's not a written rule, but everybody practices that way. So the bride groom and write down how much everybody gives, so they know next time that person's or that person's relative get married or anything, we should give this same amount. If you don't give the same amount next time, and usually that would definitely provoke some dissatisfaction or anger. So that's something I have witnessed in China many times. So what if it happens? Actually, it does happen, because the next person get married, and then the bride and groom, for some reason, they don't give the same amount, they give less. What do we do? If I'm the person know that you're supposed to receive the gift this time, what do I do? This kind of, if your mentee encounters such a thing, it does not have to be the example I gave. Just break the eco-social transaction. It might be a favor your mentee did for someone else, and this time your mentee need a favor from that person. That person does not want to give that favor. So if you encounter this issue with your mentee, how can you guide him or her? Of course, there are a lot of Bible verses talk about this. This Psalm chapter 37, verse 1 to 25. I'm not going to read the whole verses, but it's talking about how Bible's teaching, talking about don't follow the evil way. The most important concept we need to introduce to the mentee is that really God is in any interpersonal relationship. So God will come to judge. And interesting enough, actually there's a saying or a concept in Chinese culture talking about the same thing, talking about that heaven will come to judge. So in Chinese word, heaven usually was referred to God. It's not really like a personal God, like a God have a human image, that kind of thing. Just a very blurry concept, like the highest authority. So Chinese culture does have that saying, says heaven will come to judge. And it's, I want to share with you so you know a little bit about Chinese culture. And break the eco-social transaction, a lot of examples, just for example, get tricked by others, should we trick them back? Or if like a manager at workplace, if as a manager, I train my subordinates, I help them to grow, and then eventually they choose to resign, they choose to go to a better company, a better position. How do I handle that? And that can be encountered at the workplace. So all these things can happen regarding work or in life. And then when you get a chance to talk about the things, and this is your opportunity to introduce Bible to them and introduce Bible teaching about these kind of situation, how to handle this kind of situation. Yes, God is in any interpersonal relationship, even at work. I think for young professionals, there's a common thing they usually easily fall into. It's like I contribute to the company. I contribute some extra effort. This is my job description, I did something outside this job description, and I expect the company to pay me back. immediately, like give me a bonus, give me an award, or give me a promotion, a salary increment, that kind of thing. I think young professionals easily can expect that. So yeah, if you are mentoring young professionals and if they have this kind of a trouble issue, and it's your opportunity to guide them to the right attitude. Yes, you have contributed extra to the company right now. Yes, the company has not paid you back at this moment, but have you lost anything? That's a good question to ask. The answer is no. Actually, you have grown your ability, and then your ability is gonna pay you back in the future. Even in this company, is not gonna pay you back, but it gives you the ability to get into the next position, maybe in a different company later in life. So God actually is in this relationship to judge, and we need to see that. And we cannot just see that two people or two party transaction. It's a three parties relationship. This third item is it's another common problem, like I'm not understood by others or my family. I think it's a common issue for anybody in China, probably more even so, because like our parents, they want us to study hard and get a good job, but whatever the good job in the market right now does not necessarily fits my personal potential, what gift gave to me. So probably happens, I think it happens probably more often in China. Um, and yes, we need to communicate so others can understand us better. Even at workplace, that's why we need to communicate, have a meeting, to communicate by all kinds of methods, email, phone call, just to take action as a team. That's a very important concept in the workplace. But even with all these things, is still no guarantee of 100% understand. Just like I shared before, one of the basic fundamental things should happen in the company that we all should follow the boss's direction, even without fully understand why he does that. So even with all the communication, the full understanding still does not exist. But it's interesting enough, as an individual, we always seek to be understood. And I remember still, and when I was even younger, when I was younger, I just craved to be understood. I crave someone can fully understand me. And I thought that person should be my spouse. And that was my thinking. But then before I found my spouse, I found God. I fully understand then and now that God is the one who can fully understand me, not any other person, even my spouse, even my parents. Nobody can fully understand me. But we all have that eager to be understood. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting dilemma. We want to be 100% understood, but no human being can understand us to understand myself or anybody fully 100%, but only God can. So I think that's another thing God put in our heart to seek Him, and to find Him, that He's the one can fully understand us. So when you mentor your mentee, the mentee may encounter such a problem that, oh, I don't feel I'm understood. I crave so much to be understood. If the mentee talk like that, oh, this is your opportunity to introduce the facts of human life. The fact is that only God can understand each of us 100%. So we should seek that understanding from God instead of a human being. Yes, actually, if we don't find God and we still have that inner crave to be 100% understood, sometimes it can cause problem. We can place that uh, imaginary thing on a friend or on a spouse. If I expect my friend understand me 100%, and then if the scenario happen that my friend does not understand me 100%, that will really hurt me. If I place that expectation on my spouse and it happens, and my spouse does not understand me 100%, and that will hurt me too, and will make me doubt why I married this person. He does not fully understand me. So it can cause problems. Actually, as I have witnessed, a lot of marital problem, especially happening in women, is caused by this. And the women will say, I don't feel my husband understand me. And that's how women, that's the root for women to seek outside a relationship, outside their marriage. And the other issue is comparison and jealous. I think it happens in any country, and I have witnessed a lot in China too. Uh, well, well, we compare, we compare. I think the major thing is uh, like what type of a condo we live in, what type of a car we are driving, those kind of things, material things. We compare a lot in China. Mm. So of course, we all know comparison can lead to jealous. It's not healthy. And how if your mentee encounter that kind of issue, your mentee is supposed to be a professional. The thing he share with you might be like, oh, I'm as or even more smart or more skillful than my colleague, and he get promoted, and I'm not. Why? So your mentee might encounter this kind of issue. So this is your opportunity to really help him or her, to guide them to the right direction, the right attitude. So the parable of a talent is definitely a good verse to cite, talking about, just like I discussed before, talking about how we define success, and how I just talk about God is in any interpersonal relationship, even at work. Even like right now, the company does not recognize my ability, but eventually I will find a place to recognize it. So all those are your opportunity to guide your mentee. Yeah, don't follow the evil way. That's another verse, another passage you can cite from Bible. There are a lot of them you can and you can find yourself. When we talk about interpersonal relationship, inevitably we're gonna talk about words are weapons, which means what do you say to others, even to yourself, matters. And here's and James chapter 3 verse 2 to 12 talk about words are weapons. I'm not gonna read it here, and you can read it and you know that's the passage is what the passage is talking about. So you might encounter an interesting topic, which is China's media control or the freedom of speech in the United States. They are two opposite things. China control the media, control what people can see, can watch on internet, on TV. But here in the United States, we can say anything. So they are two opposite things, but they both reflect one important fact. Words are weapons. Because Chinese government know that whatever people say can influence their governing over the people. So they want to control it. And the government of United States, we know that we want to improve, and we want people to be able to express what they want to express, so we can hear all different voices, and then we can improve our system. So for different purpose, we're doing different things. So then, yeah, your topic can go from anywhere. It can go from the freedom of speech or the media control. The topic can go from there, and then you can go from there and introduce the Bible verse. Yes, yes, words are very important. And then during all these discussion, I think one I would definitely strongly suggest, as American, as Westerners, uh, sharing and discussion is much more important than persuading. Just share what you have experienced in your country, the freedom of speech, what benefit it has been. And because you don't know the opinion of your mentee or who he is, so persuading um, might not be the right way. Even in a company operation, we heard some workplace wisdom says meetings before meeting. What does that mean? It means that if I'm gonna have a meeting, many participants, and I'm gonna propose some initiative, I want to have individual meetings before this group meeting. I want to gain as much support as I can before the group meeting. Why is that? Because in the group meeting, if somebody oppose my initiative, and then the opposing voice is gonna raise more people to oppose my plan. So if I gain more support, and if the supporting sound voice is higher than the opposing voice, and most likely my plan will go through. So that's the workplace wisdom. And it also reflects the same thing. Words are weapons in a group. It has power. It has power. Actually, a lot of wisdom or teaching in effective communication. That's a course many people at workplace have learned can can be the entrance. We talk about communication. We talk about words are weapons. We introduce these Bible verses, these Bible verses to the mentee. Oh, yes, of course, it's the same for any interpersonal relationship, friend, spouse, and what we say to them really matters. And what we say to ourselves matters too. Success psychology has talked about that. And as I shared, the psychology has gained a lot of attention in China, and a lot of people have known, a lot of people knew success psychology and know that what they say to themselves matters. So actually, these are all the four different things. All these things can be the entrance for you to talk about Bible wisdom. Words are weapons. Um, just like I said, if you know other communication method, you can also use them as an entrance to cite Bible verses. In interpersonal relationship, Bible has a lot of wisdom regarding that, and I just list out some of them here, and there are more, and these are all good things for us to cite when we encounter the situation that we're gonna help our mentees to deal with interpersonal relationship. The fourth aspect and topics we can discuss with mentees is relationship and marriage. It can be a situation that a group of young people, they just want to talk about relationship and marriage, and you happen to be the mentor. And sometimes this kind of topic might like a counseling. yeah, you might have some experience in counseling people in marriage and relationship, and then you have this young group of young people want to talk with you and want to learn from you. That's one situation. The other situation is that your mentees just want to talk about work, but because your relationship deepen with your mentee, and your mentee can share some of may share some of his or her trouble with you, which might be related to which might be relationship and marriage. And these are different scenarios you can work with them on this topic. More and more single people in China in recent years. So Chinese, we have that very popular training app, 得到, Wangyi Learning. All those are very popular apps on everybody's cell phone. And I often saw they pop that message just talking about, oh, why should I get married? Because that's because it's there are more and more people now that want to get married. So that's why those websites, they are trying to gain people's attention. I want to talk about that. So in Bible, we all know that not everyone needs a relationship. Bible talk about that. Matthew chapter 19, 8 to 12. So when you get a chance to discuss that with your mentee, and this is the opportunity to really introduce your Christian view towards marriage. What do you think marriage is? And then whether marriage suits your mentee, and then you can help them or her to really explore their heart, have a conversation with God. And these are all a good opportunity for you to introduce to introduce God to them, to bring them to God. Woman as suitable helper in the marriage. Genesis 2:18 talk about that God says it's not good for Adam to be alone. That's why God created a helper for him. This is actually that's a simple verse, but if like a very mind-blowing fact for me. I believe that's also it's gonna be also for many Chinese. The woman actually is the helper for the man, supposed to support and support and help the man, help the husband, because for thousands of years, woman is at a gaining position in a marriage. What does that mean? Means that when from the beginning, when a man proposed a marriage to a woman, especially in ancient time, that the man supposed to give a lot of gifts to the woman's parents. That would be like it's hard to describe. It's significant. It's gonna be a lot of money, cash, or gifts. And in modern day China, if a man wants to propose to a woman, and the woman criteria is that whether the man has own a home, or whether the man own a car, what is the man's job, how much he's earning, and those are the criterias the parents will ask at the first place. And yeah, even for my own education from my parents, it's always like yeah, the man should treat you well, no problem, and also and how much what kind of a life he can provide you. That's very important. What kind of a life he can provide you. That's my education, like regarding marriage, and that's also the same education for many Chinese. So woman is at a gaining position in a marriage. That's a concept for thousands of years. And actually, for myself, my first marriage failed, and then I found God. I knew God, and just because the one of the reason I was looking for God was because after my first marriage failed, I did not feel like I can have another successful marriage. I just did not think so. So I was seeking subconsciously some higher help, some higher power to help me on that. And yes, God, I found God, and God did help me. And now I'm happily married with a son. So, yeah, God has changed my life. There's no doubt. That's why I'm putting a lot of time in doing God's work. Yeah, if you can help some young Chinese people, young people can change their mind, change their to correct their value towards marriage, and that's gonna be significant influence. Here, a suitable it's suitable is the key word here. So for any man, the suitable it's the purpose, and the key is to find a suitable help for him. And so the suitable must means that whatever he needs, some men they need someone smarter. They want someone who can help them, uh, who can support them uh, for their job. Someone they just want some men they just want someone who can be a homemaker, just stay home and cook and clean, and that's a man's need. So every man's need is different. It's not an absolute beauty, intelligence, or anything. So suitable is the key word here. And for myself, after I understand this Bible fact, it helped me a lot to understand why relationship it's more common for men to pursue a woman than a woman to pursue a man. Because I thought, oh yeah, pursue a man, it's just like sales skill. You can learn any sales skill. It's no biggie. But why it's not a common phenomenon? So after I understand Bible, understand this concept in Bible, I understand why. Because it's not good for that man. So he has to take that initiative to find somebody suitable for him to help him. So he has to take that initiative. And Bible's teaching regarding a marriage and relationship, wives submit to husbands. So the relationship between husband and wife is like a leader and a subordinates. And the Bible's teaching talk about what should the leader do for their subordinate. And it should serve and sacrifice for the subordinate. So it is hard. And actually Bible teaching is the fact. So a lot of a movie we have seen, we saw a great leader is the person who is willing to sacrifice his own interest for his subordinate. We would view that person as a hero, just like at a war place, and the the lieutenant asked all the soldiers to leave the place, and he will stay there to try to block the enemy. So we were, oh wow, the lieutenant is just a hero. We will view that person as a hero. So that's a real leader. And interesting enough, it's the same. Interesting enough, we just heard on the news, the president of Afghanistan fled the country before many Afghanistan people can leave the country. So it's very interesting to see all these things. Is he a real leader? That definitely raised a question in my head. And when we are talking about marriage and the relationship, Some wisdom I've heard from elder Chinese woman is that we should praise our husband as much as we can. I heard that wisdom from a lady who is not a Christian, but the wisdom just come from her observation, which actually is correct. Yes, you want a success marriage as a woman. You need to praise your husband to build up his confidence as much as you can. Why is that? So actually, that reflects this Bible fact too, because the husband is the leader and he needs to be built in his confidence and everything. And the husband, it's a general, I think it's a very common need for men to want the praise from their wives, and that just satisfy their need psychologically. Um, Actually totally in line with the Bible wisdom that the husband is the leader, the wife is the subordinate. So you can go from many different places and to cite Bible verses to talk about what Bible says about marriage. And the passages I cited before talking about uh, what the leader should do towards their subordinate, that the leader come to serve, not to be served, and sacrifice his life for his subordinate. So husband loves the wife sacrificially. And as a woman, and as I have discussed with many women, we all share one common common uh, common common psychological need is that how can we tell my husband really loves me, or what do I need my husband to do? And this is a lot of women share that if the husband can sacrifice for me, like for example, there's only $10 left, and the husband will spend $8 on me and only spend $2 on himself, and I would think the husband really loves me, and that really satisfy my psychological need. So it's very interesting that this is sacrificially, uh, uh, husband loves his wife sacrificially, is definitely in line with our psychological need. So that's why the Bible is God's word, is wisdom, and is the guideline for our daily life. How to resolve conflict between husband and wife in a relationship, and that's definitely a good topic to discuss. As a Christian, if your mentee encounter that issue, and that's an opportunity to share with him or her how you solve the conflict in your marriage. Or for myself, after I knew God, this is a significant difference between. This is a significant difference for me before I knew God and after I knew God. Before I knew God, if I have a conflict with my ex-husband, I would just react and get angry or explode immediately. But after I knew God, I knew I need to pray first. I felt anger. I feel I was not treated fairly, and I pray first. I pray, and after pray, whatever solution or action or words come out from my mouth is totally different. So that's how I have handled the conflict between me and my current husband, and actually it does show the difference. Happy marriage versus previously had divorced. So it really is a significant difference. So you can share your own example with your mentee. And trust is the foundation of marriage. So yeah, I think in the marriage, like I shared with you in the Chinese concept, we want that person to do something to gain my trust. But as a Christian, because we believe in God, we can choose to trust first. So that's the huge difference. If I practice the both, and I can tell you the second one works well. But every scenario is different. How you can guide your mentee through that and help him or her to understand Bible teaching, and that will depend on the scenario, the situation. China's popular problem, the little third. The little third, that's a direct translation, which means the mistress of the husband, or usually it's the mistress of the husband. What does that mean? It means that actually a lot of successful Chinese men, after they are able to gain a lot of money, and as they tend to have a mistress outside their marriage. That's why we have witnessed in China a lot. But why is that? I thought about that. I thought that probably actually rooted from the concept of a woman is at a gaining position in a marriage. So if a man can satisfy the gaining need of his wife, and then after that, on top of that, he has the extra ability to satisfy another woman's need. So it seems that he's entitled to do it because he's capable. So I think that's my thinking. But no matter what, when your mentee encounters this kind of an issue, and you can share with her or him the Bible wisdom. What does Bible say about marriage? Should marriage be one between one man and then one woman? And yeah, so that would be your opportunity to share your understanding as a Christian, introduce Bible to your mentee. What is love? Let me read that to you. That really is another mind-blowing verses. They are mind-blowing verses to me too when I first read that. So love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it does not proud. It is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. So that's heavy word. Those are heavy words. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy. And that's totally opposite from what I knew about love. And we have a saying in Chinese, is the more you love, the more you hate. What does that mean? It means if I love someone and I want that person totally belong to me, and then if he does not comply with that, he does not comply with that, or he has another girlfriend, and I will totally feel like so angry towards that fact. And that was my thinking before I knew Christ. And I believe that's the same thinking for many people, many young Chinese people. If I love someone, that person should totally belong to me, and he cannot, or she cannot love or date anybody else. So, so really, if you can introduce this mind-blowing, mind-changing concept to a young person to really guide them to see what love is, that would be definitely significant work and changes you can bring to that person. So like for example, at the boyfriend and girlfriend stage, a girl and a boy, if the boy has another girlfriend and you can say betray the girl, so what the girl should look at it. So if the girl look at like if the girl comply with Bible and behave or act according to Bible's teaching, and um, she will hope that the boy really finds his true love and really finds his happiness and bless him on his way ahead. And if the girl can really do that, what's gonna bring to the girl herself? That will make her heart, there's no hatred, and she will not feel hurted, and she will keep going to find her own love, to find a man that she can satisfy his needs the best. So that there will be no problem. Um, there will be no problem for the future. So that's a good example. What I'm trying to say that if you can change the value towards marriage for a young person, that's a significant work. In marriage, there's another common issue I have witnessed is should we deal with emotion first or should we deal with the issue first? And what I have witnessed and discussed with many women, and like for example, if the woman get mistreated at workplace, and she came home and talked to her husband about it, and the husband usually will jump right on and try to analyze the situation for her and find the solution. Well, that's typical man's logic. That's how men usually react in the situation. You have a problem, let me analyze the problem for you, let me try to solve the problem for you. But for women at that moment, most of them, as I have discussed, most of them, the thing they need the most is to be understood. Just like, oh, I'm so sorry you have encountered such a situation, and give her a hug. And that will make the woman feel much better than just jump right on, try to analyze the situation. So there's a book, Women Come from Venus and Men Come from Mars. And that book is a very good book to talk about the differences of a woman and a man's brain on dealing with issues. So those are all relationship related topics, and we can go from there and to introduce Bible to them. But how? I did not really get a direct Bible verses talking about that, but you probably can find it, and that will be very interesting if you can find it and share with me. Another thing I want to share with you is that really in China, being a full-time housewife is not a respectable role. Why is that? And one mentality it reflects. It's very interesting, and what harm it can cause. What harm it can cause, I can share with you. I have witnessed. I have a friend. They are very successful women in the workplace. At the workplace, they travel all the time. They don't spend much time with their kids, and the kids are raised pretty much by grandparents and the nanny. And so because the nanny changed, the nanny cannot stay that long. One nanny, probably 1 year, after 5 years, 5 different nannies. And when the kids go to elementary school, the kids' behavior is very strange in the classroom. Just will shout out anytime and do any strange things. So when the teachers talk to the kid, try to analyze what's going on, and the teacher find out actually whatever the kid is trying to do is to draw attention, because the kid was not able to really build a strong, stable relationship or bond with his mother. So that's why his behavior just reflect that his lack of that. So that's one example I can give to you. It does cause harm. And in China, a lot of absent parents, because they have to work so much, and the kids were left with the grandparents and nanny. and that caused a lot of issues. That's the situation. But these issues are problems Chinese I encounter. But these issues are also opportunity for us, for experienced American counselor to help them and then to introduce Bible to them. So yeah, I did not really find the direct Bible verse that says, oh, the parents have to spend so much time with the kid. I did not find that verse, but probably you know better than me and you can share with me. So that's relationship and marriage. We will stop here for this video and then continue in the next one.